I'm going to take you all the way back now to a play called Whole, which was staged as part of Theatre Carnival in Hill. Now, this play, as you just now talked about, it's a character speaking Mandarin, but it comes out in English. Right? It's a very gentle play about the elderly. Now again, it stands out is in your oeuvre of works as being very atypical. Talk us through it.
Okay, it is a work of a young man who didn't understand what aging and first of all, these guys are 60 years old, right? It's unrealistic to put them in a home, right? But at that time, maybe 60 was really old, right? It was then, but it's not so old now. It is very hopeful play, I mean, there's pain and all that, but it's essentially a hopeful message. If I were to write it again, I won't be so hopeful. It will be much darker. It will be much, I wouldn't say apocalyptic, because I understand life more, right? I'm older, I've seen more things, and so it is in a way a very it's very slight play in that sense.
It's also one of the first plays that came out of the TheatreWork's Writers' Lab.
Okay. So Robin and I, theatres, were in the Writers' Lab. So Writers' Lab was, in fact, very instrumental for the flowering of Singapore playwriting, part of TheatreWorks, right? And that particular lab, those 2-3 years, right, brought out Eleanor Wong, Ovidia, Desmond, Russell, you, and for a long while we were the only playwrights about, like years and years and years, and then Alfian came. Then Alfian was for a long time practically the only. Then later Zijian and all that, right? And now you have a whole new crowd, right? So he was very instrumental. And by the time we were in Writers' Lab, we were all pretty old people, right? Because there weren't very many vehicles for playwriting, except except NUS-Shell Short Play Competition. Eleanor won the first prize.
Yes.
With Peter's
Passionate Pursuit.
Yeah. And who won the first prize? Second another year.
I think was the only year.
Yeah. So also all these rather old, angry people came and then wrote all the lesbian plays, political plays, male homosexual plays, then of course the couple who Teresa Tan, right?
Yeah.
So she wrote 2 very nice comedies and then stopped writing. She's a breast cancer advocate, right? Yeah. So she stopped writing, and Fast Cast Fancy Woman,
Mary Lowe.
Mary Lowe wrote 1 play, I think, maybe 2.
Right.
1 play. Fast Cast Fancy Woman, ensemble cast, right? Ensemble cast, I think maybe 30 people in the cast or something like that. That's nice for school production. It is the most frequently produced play in Singapore history. Quote unquote, don't say I boast, quote unquote Mary Lowe.
Yes,
don't say I boast, I think this one produced almost every year.
Yes.
Right? Because the topic is quite nice.
And no vulgarities, no obscenities.
Big cast, everybody has a part, right? Those can act, those don't act, who can act. He's produced like 20 something or 30 times. That means 1 every year, very impressive. Yeah, even more than Emily. That's saying something.
That is saying something. What was it like in the Writers' Lab? Did you attend any of the workshops?
Yeah, I attended one guy from Yale, the old man Stein, something.
Yeah.
Okay. Then.
Did you do Mac Wellman?
No, I did the
Tony Perez.
Yeah. Then Tony Perez and I quarreled,
Yes.
so I never attended. Yeah. But I learned something from him in the psychology. He said, why you always write about old man? So my short stripper was old man, second player old, right?
Yes.
He said, did something happen to you? And then I was very angry with him, right? Because indeed my father died when I was very young.
Yeah.
So I never got over it. And then I rejected it. So I said, hey, no, you're supposed to be a teacher of playwright, not psychoanalyst. So I stopped attending, Then a few years I think after he left, then I realized, hey, what he said is so true.
True.
Right? And the minute I said that I have no intention, I have no desire to write about old man anymore. Yeah, strange catharsis, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So, but at that time, it was we feel like, okay, something is happening on the cusp, you know.
Yeah.
You are always in danger. You don't know whether, okay, now playwriting is not a dangerous activity, right? It has never been, but at that time you didn't know whether it was or not. Okay? In the 1980s, it was, right? And in the 70s, it was. Look, Pao Kung went to jail, right?
Yeah.
Then the people in third stage,
Marxist conspiracy.
yeah.
87.
Swanser and Soki, right? Am I allowed to mention their names?
Well, you already have. So go for it, Tan Tarn.
So Swansu was detained and allegedly tortured, even though they have to take back the statement and all that kind of stuff, right? They did experiments, right? And that was very much responsible, right?
Yeah.
So 90s, we don't know, you know, at least, so of course Tomiko freed up everything, right? But every time we write and say, you get trouble or not, and you know, your friends, relatives, whom I won't mention, say, if you want to do this, why don't you just do other stuff, you know, right? So, right. And, you know, the government's reach is so wide, right? People would say, hey, is it okay if I am your friend? Right? Then some people worry like, oh, what happens if they take back my HDB flat, my HDB shop? And it was genuinely worry. It's not, you know. And I used to quarrel with people who are very worried about this, you know. That why don't you just, be a normal person, don't write, or write home, you know. That kind
Write
of,
home.
Yeah. So, but as it got, and Empress last days also had the fear, undercover had the fear, fear of writing, I had the fear, right? But by the time I wrote it, the fear was gone. This particularly had changed, right? But I was so afraid about writing about Chi Sun Chuan. But of course, the fear of playwriting is that this is not a review, right? I'm not allowed to say it in the interview. We are very naughty, right? We didn't submit the full script, right? So we only submitted the center, Act 2.
Act 2.
Right? So MDA didn't know that there's Act 1 and Act 3. So Facebook first night, right? MDA raided. Say MDA never were at home watching TV. Then called Tay Tong say, I want to see the thing, right? In the end, they didn't see. But at the end, how many months later, they called Tay Tong in, long interview, write transcript, sign, explain everything. So I wasn't afraid, but I was afraid for TheatreWorks, you know, because funding and right. Tay Tong had previously appeared in court before for something, right? He said, hey, don't do it to me again, lah.
Why were you not afraid? When you said that by the time you finished writing it, the fear was no longer there. Why?
Because my theme was no longer okay, there was some stuff about Chi Sun Chuan I didn't dare to write, but essentially I could write most of it. Right? I was character assassination, the part, right? I was afraid. But I wasn't. I knew that okay, the most you get scolded or whatever lah. But I was not mortally afraid, but you were very afraid in 1993 because your livelihood and you can blacklisted and you don't know what they will do to you. And you know, this is Lee Kuan Yew's time. You know. It's perpetual fear, you know, right? I work in the media, it's perpetual fear, right? You're constantly afraid of saying the wrong thing. So it's slightly scared, not fear.
Just to also go back to the Writers Lab, and also one of the first few members of Writers Lab was somebody called Chen Swanzi, who was also part of the Writers Lab and wrote Kevin's Birthday Party monologue, which is a very delightful monologue. And I think one of the things about Writers Lab at the time was TheatreWork and King Sen assembled a group of people, not say angry, like had a lot of things to say, and we're not going to keep quiet. What they had was a series of workshops, and then we were sent back to write, and we had these things called lab reports, where we would test everything out, and what was seen as controversial and otherwise. So that was a really good experience. and a good environment to do. But I think it is also a apparatus of its time. I don't think the same system can work now because the economics and the politics are very different, but it worked very well for its time. And now we go start from the very beginning, a very good place to start. 1987-86. Now I just want to end on a promising, hopeful beginning note of the two plays, Two Men, Three Struggles, in Praise of the Dentist. Have you read them recently? Have you reread them recently?
No.
Do you remember them?
Yeah, I remember the image. I write quite often have an image of the scene. Yeah, so I remember that. And I think Two Men, Three Struggles was staged by Christina Sargent and
Yes.
Roger Jenkins as
That's right.
One to Midnight, and I got a very fat $200 check. Right.
Yes.
Yeah, and we even treated our friends to Long Beach pepper crab. Yeah, so that's really great. Yeah.
That was really
so
great.
the stage, first time it was staged. Yeah. Actually, I had written a fragment for the Gulf War, 1991, which Substation and Akachai put together as Substation.
Right.
So I like 5-minute kind of thing on the Gulf War. Yeah. So after this actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was on the strength of this too that you were recruited by
Yeah.
TheatreWork. So you see, I wanted to bring this up is because a lot of the people who were, apart from Zhuangzi, who were part of Writers Lab came from the prize-winning plays. Elle, myself, Desmond, somebody called Chu Ligren, remember?
Yeah, Ligren, yeah.
Right? And everybody came from here. So again, the beginnings, the competitions, this were part of that landscape at the time, and that we were not trained writers. We sort of knew, and we sort of read plays, we watched plays. So we did a lot of aping, a lot of mimicking, and then slowly, as given the right opportunities, we were able to hone our craft and develop a personal style that I think is very important because Eleanor writes in a particular way or Vida writes in a particular way. You can always tell a Tan Tarn play from a Desmond Sims play. So just to kind of give everybody kind of a historical background of that kind of playwriting. My staff tells me I need to wind up, but I have time for a few more questions. Any burning questions? If you want to talk to Tan Hao personally, there will be drinks and canapes, very English, downstairs after the living room itself. You can talk to him directly, or you can ask questions now. Yes, Mr. Brian Tan?
Okay, bit of long-winded question, please bear with me. I think very often when we talk about the plays of Tan Tarn, we talk about the use of satire, and as you yourself mentioned, allegory. That, I think, this is my opinion, is premised on a certain level of political understanding, socio-political understanding, as well as a certain level of literary or cultural vocabulary. You have to recognize the form, you have to not take it in earnest, you have to read between the lines, understand the subtext, decode what is happening on stage. We don't seem to get very much of that in Singapore theatre anymore, which brings us back to the point raised earlier that our younger theatre makers work in a realist mode. Now, I'm not sure I agree that it's really a realist mode. I think it may be more a certain expectation, and that expectation may come from the market, the audience, or it is perhaps a primary impulse by the artists themselves, based on the one thing that Robin Loon used to say whenever he conducted the 24-hour playwriting competition: don't write a screenplay, right? Don't write something that's meant for TV or film, write a play. What do you think has changed that has led to this shift, right? That the New Hope became The Empire Strikes Back.
Oh, a Star Wars reference. Gird your loins for a lot of that coming. Tan Tarn how? Obi-Wan Kenobi, talk to us.
So why do they not write in the...
Part of it may be the anger, as you say.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
It has changed.
Yeah.
Why? Why do you think it has changed? Because on the one hand, it would appear to us that the restrictions, the censorship, the heavy-handedness hasn't really changed at all. It's arguably gone backwards.
Yeah, and I think young people, younger generation, I think that we will not compromise as the first batch, right? You give us 5, right? It's not enough. We want the whole 10, right? And I remember the third installment of Eleanor's play, right? What's the third installment called?
Jointly and separately.
Yeah, jointly and separately. I don't know whether Eleanor still believes so, but at that time, staged in Jubilee Hall, I think, she said, so there's 2 characters, right? They were in the university, right? So one of them says, hey, no, they don't bother us. They let us live, right? So we should live and let live. And Eleanor, the character whom I think is speaking in her voice, Eleanor's own view, is that no, that's not enough. Why should we accept being merely accepted and tolerated? Right? We should have our full rights. I think that if I know Russell, if I know Ovidia, that was the kind of political position that they have, I suppose maybe, as I said, I haven't seen many of the plays, but generally my interaction with younger artists and younger, even people NGO and all that, they are willing to say, okay lah, we accept, let's push a bit, or there's a feeling of, yeah, you have pushed for so many years, nothing is going to change, right? So why push, right? Whereas in the past, you just push because it's there, it's there, you got to push it. So maybe that's the difference. I don't know about the difference in forms. Do they not write satires anymore? Or farces or whatever? I don't know. Yeah.
Predominantly, I think one of it's a different time, different exposure to different media. The predominant media that the young people are exposed to is television. Not that we didn't watch television, but we were exposed to other things too. I think that imprints a lot, and that shapes imagination. Let's just put it that way. I'm a lot more hopeful. I think with exposure to different forms and genres, there is hope for variety and there's hope for variation. Currently, it does seem that the new writings appears to be the realist and very much reflecting of local sensibilities, and I think that is the purview of the young generation. I think, as with what we wanted to write at our time, we feel that was our voice to speak, and this is their voice to speak. So I think maybe comparison is not a fair one, but there is a definite shift in change.
So I don't know. I mean, Corey wrote a column about the old and young writers, right?
Yes.
Of that thing, and I think this is true. And maybe Brent's assessment is true. Generation gap, I guess.
So today we brought back BGR and generation gap. We are bringing it back, people. One more question, anyone? Yes, please.
Yeah, 2 questions.
You will have 2 questions.
First one is really easy name.
Okay.
Why do you name the play Lady of Soul and Ultimate Especially? Because there are 2 other characters who offer different opinions on what soul is, but why do you call it that? And secondly, on the issue of censorship, I think is a censorship-free Singapore an ideal that is not realistic? Because do Singaporeans really want that? And what are your opinions on it? Like, theatrical
Yeah.
Okay, why is it called Lady of Soul? And
Because it sounds very nice.
Spoken like a writer. Brings in the money, sex sells.
Yeah, I really like that. I remember the moment I thought of it and said, wow, okay, very good. Yeah. Sorry, yeah. Second is sorry, what's
The
the
censorship.
So like, do Singaporeans really want?
Yeah. yeah. But artists is not. We are not in the business of giving people what they want, right? We are giving people what they need, right?
Yes.
And they didn't know what they need. Yeah.
Is the crisp answer, which leads us to the end of today's very exciting living room. Thank you all very, very much.
Thank you.
There is canapes and drinks and food downstairs after this. Please join us for a chat, for a drink. But before that, put your hands together. Thank you.